Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Today is the last lecture, right? So we are going to just wrap up the second part or last part of the IPTables lab, basically, and then we should be done with the semester. So let's take a look at the calendar. Let me share the screen. It is recording. So this will appear as part 2 of IPTables. Calendar. I almost finished grading your exams, so I'm almost done. You can check those. Take a look at the calendar here. You can see today is April 19th, so the last part of this. And then we have 3 days basically to finish up your demos. Okay, so make sure you schedule those. Remember, it's going to be on a first come, first serve basis, right? So make sure you get those spots. So it'll be this Thursday, Tuesday, and Thursday of next week. And then the final exam will probably be May 3rd. I'm assuming it'll be at 7:15. It's usually the time that we get. So it'll be the same type of scenario. And that's it. All right, so this IPTables lab, don't forget it's required, but you can do it via VM, we agreed, or you can use the Raspberry Pis. Today I'll just kind of demo the last few problems. And we just have to replicate. All right, so let's go ahead. All right. So I'm gonna start the virtual machines. I'm gonna stop. Sorry, that was the calendar basically. I'm gonna close that, and then I'm gonna go ahead, start the VM. Okay, so we got our virtual machine here. Let's wait for the VM to start. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share the VM. Okay, so you should all at this point be seeing the VM. Okay, so we are going to, so let's just start with one of these, kind of a warm up. And then we can discuss. All right, so we'll start with one scenario. So let me open up the terminal. Okay, and minimize this a little bit. All right, so the scenario that we're going to look at was the problem of blocking HTTP traffic going from A to an IP address like 184.168.26.138. So we want to block it by, let's say, IP address. So the first thing we can do is, it doesn't have to be that IP address actually. So you can pick another one. So you can pick, PNW, Syracuse University, your favorite sports team, whatever. So in this case, let's just ping Facebook. Facebook.com, right? And I'm getting an IP address there of 157.240.235. Okay. So the IP address that I got, so everyone sees this, is 157.240.235, right? And so now that I have that IP, well, the first thing I probably want to see is that I can successfully load that IP address by going to the browser, right? And I should get Facebook. So let's try that one. So 157.240.2.35. And we do in fact get Facebook, right? So we've got the website there. Now I'm going to proceed, and we have to think about the problem. We want to do a rule, right? We want to do a rule that's going to block it. In this case, we want to look at the IPTables firewall. So we want to possibly do sudo IPTables, and then I'm going to do -L, and then which chain would you guys recommend that we take a look at here? Remember, this depends, right? If it's a router, if this was a router, what chain should you look at? Remember, these are exam type questions, right? Where it's going to be very subtle little differences, but the chain is really what I'm looking for. So if this was a router and you're coming from the inside network going to the outside, what chain on the IPTables would you? Forward chain, right? Now, in this case, which one would you recommend here? Because we're in the local machine, right? So we're in a local host. So what would make sense? The output, right? So it kind of makes sense. All right, so good. So I'm going to go here and then -n, oops, lowercase n, and then we're going to do -- line numbers. And so I'm going to hit enter, and we have no rule in here. So now I'm going to go ahead and type in a rule. I can also do, so I'm going to do sudo IPTables. And then I'm going to do -I for insert, output, dash, what protocol should this be? TCP, right? So don't forget those little details. And then the destination is going to be 157.240.2.35, right? So that's the IP address of the destination. And then we want to say that, what else should we say about this rule? You think that's enough for it to work? What do you guys think? Let's just try -J. Oops, that's an uppercase. Right, so took the rule, right? So now I can view it. You can see it there. Oops, what is it? Oh. You guys remember the command, the command for the hit count? Pretty sure it was me. Let's just do sudo IPTable. VL. There we go. So I had it backwards. All right, so this should give us the number of packets. And what's great about that, it should be the hit count. And so that, that's another way of, always taking a look at the hit count is very useful, right? So you know what's going on. So I'm going to do it again. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and, oh yeah. So now I'm going to go to the Firefox environment. I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, let's take a look at the hit count. And it did not go. Oh no, I think it did, right? So 139 packet. No, it accepted. So, $157.240.2.35. Still going there. Okay. There are 10 packets here that were dropped though. So this is something. How do you open a private window? Right click. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Let's try that. Okay, I'm going to try it again. 157.240.235. So what do you guys think? Working, right? All right, good. Yeah, so probably cache, probably something that's going on there. But in a private window, the IP no longer works. Also, the hit count is always a good indicator. And you see it's 37 here, so you guys can see that. We got double confirmation that it does in fact work. Any questions? Nope. No questions. Other things that you could have done, you could have, let's see. You want to be more specific. You can specify parameters such as the state. So you can do, this is not necessary, obviously, but I just want to point it out. Here, right? So you can do other parameters like -- destination port, and then you can say something like 443, which is for HTTPS encrypted, right? You can also look at states, right? So you can, the flags, like we were talking about, SYN, ACK, etc. You can specify those parameters. So right after 443 here, we can say -m state, and then you can say, well, I want it just for the ones where it's state, and the state is new, right? Or it could be, the state could be established. That should, establish. All right, there we go. And then don't add a space. All right, so this is just, more information about more specific packets, etc. But the previous rule should have worked. So if we go over here, and that basically illustrates the scenario of blocking. The question was to block Facebook, block HTTP traffic going from A to a specific IP address. Anyone really is fine. Now this, of course, if you go to Google, that should work, right? So that never worked, but if I go to Google here, it doesn't work. No, it works. All right, good. It's just acting very strange. All right, so we go back to this, and let's go back to 157.240.2.35. Gonna think about it. We go back to the firewall IP tables. Okay. Now we can go ahead and just remove this rule. So it's going to be index 1. So just remove it. So go ahead and do sudo IPTables -d, right? And then output number 1, right? And that should take care of it. So if you go back, it's gone. So now if we go to the browser, and there we go, we can now reach Facebook once again. Okay. Any questions? Pretty simple, right? Pretty easy. That's all you have to do on that exercise. That should be enough to complete it. Hopefully. Yeah, and remember what, when I said do these rules, these 5 rules on the ASA, well, I mean these types of rules, right? Like the ones we did in IPTables, the ones you did in the software firewall. So you've been doing these quite a bit. Number 5 is implement a rule that blocks a service such as Telnet and then logs it somehow, right? That's one of the questions. All right, so we're going to take a look at that one. Should be fun. So let's think about it a little bit. I'll be clear here. So it says implement a rule that blocks Telnet. So that's the first thing. So we should Telnet into a machine, right? Probably. I guess I need another VM for this, right? All right, let me start another one. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the other VM. I may just use, yeah, let's see what happens. So I'm gonna start the other VM. This VM is 10024. Okay, so I'm gonna start the other one. All right, so I'm starting the second VM, and I'm first just gonna demo, telnetting or SSHing from one VM to the other. That should work. Then I need to block that service, and then I need to log it, and we need to see the information in the log file as it's being registered. So go ahead and do that. So the second VM is starting. Let's see if I should share this. Okay, so this is the second VM. So one is 10.0.2.4, I think. All right, we're going to open up a terminal for this one. Do IF config. This one is 10.02.15. Okay, so I have both of my machines. I'm going to ping 10.0.2.4. Okay, I can talk to it. So just to make sure I can reach it. All right, so I'm going to now yep. So I'm in this one now. 10.0.2.4. So I'm going to try to let's see if I can telnet. Let's see if I have the telnet service. Do you guys know if telnet is enabled by default? Should be. Okay, great. So then 10.0.2.15. I am. All right. So seed these. Great. I'm there. I do have config. Now that's 10.0.2.15. Perfect. I exit and I if config 10.0.2.4. Perfect. So we've got that functionality going, so we can telnet. Now the question is, we want to basically see if we can't log. Once again, we want to think of the rule that we want. So what do you guys think? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. And then what chain? Exactly, right? Very good, right? So are you gonna put this rule on the input, right? Or on the one that makes the connection, or where it's going, right? So that's basically the question. So let's say, since we went from here to 10.0.2.15, let's just do that. So this is, so we're gonna, this is where we're gonna go to. So we're gonna go to from 4 to 15, that's our goal. So therefore the telnet connection is gonna be incoming here, right? So that means we're gonna use the input chain. So I'm gonna do a clear here, and I'm gonna do a sudo IPTables, and then I'm gonna just take a look, -L, oops, -L, and I'm gonna look at input basically. My plan. So what happens? All right, there's no rules there. Put the V in there. Ooh. Right. And so we want to look at the hit count. So now in here, I'm going to add the rule and I'm going to log it. So I'm going to do sudo IPTables -I. There are no rules in it basically. -P. What is the protocol for this one? TCP dash destination port, and it's 23, right? Because it's telnet. And then what we say in here is, let's do logging here. All right, so the question is, implement a rule that blocks telnet and logs that block to a text file. Oh, sorry, or just logs it, basically. So we're gonna do dash J log, basically. So dash J log. Oh, that didn't work. Oh yeah, I forgot to put the. So this is going to be on the input chain, right? P, TCP, and then, okay. All right, so I took that rule. So now I'm going to go ahead and look at it. So it's there. Right now, I'm going to do the same Telnet connection. So I'm going to go to the other VM. Okay, I'm going from 4 to 15. So I'm going to Telnet to 15. Okay, and I'm going to type seed these. I'm in. I have config 10.02.15, exit. I'm back. 4. So now I need to go to the other VM and see if it logged it. So we need to go to 15. All right, I'm going to look at the hit count. Looks like the hit count went up. All right, so that's a good sign. All right, so it hit that rule. Now we need to figure out. So we want to find out if any files were affected. So we're going to try sudo find and then in var log any files that were updated in the last minute or so. Okay, there's a few in there. Syslog in particular. So I'm going to take a look at syslog to see if I can find what I'm looking for. Right, so I'm going to do cat var log syslog. Okay. So here we look at this. Is there an entry? I see these. So that's it's TCP. Okay, yeah, destination port 23. There you go. So that means that those packets that were doing Telnet there were sent to the log file. You guys see that? Does that make sense? Any questions? All right, so that is an attempt there. So we're going to look at the next one in a sec. Okay, so what if we wanted to log and drop? Any ideas? But it would match the first one. And it wouldn't. Yeah, they need to be, but you can't really in IPTables. So there's a trick that I'll let you guys play with. I'm not going to make it sort of required, but it goes something like this. Okay. So you can try this one out. this should, what I did today should be enough, but if you want to, what you can do is you need to create what is called a, I guess it's a combined log rule. So you do something like IPTables, so you do IPTables dash n, and then you're going to call it log drop, let's say. Okay, like that. Okay, so you create that. And then once you create that, you're going to add the two rules to this. And then that's going to be the thing that you link, basically. So you're going to do then IPTables dash A log drop underscore drop. And then you're going to do dash J, lowercase. And then this is going to be log. Okay. And again, I did the same thing. Okay. And then you're going to assign to it the next step, which is IPTables dash A log drop dash J drop. Again, I did a pseudo thing. You guys see that? And so you can create this rule and just see if you can make it work, right? So play with it a little bit, but that's kind of the idea there. So then finally, the last part of it would be what? Sudo IPTables dash A, right? For adding. And then you add it to what? What did we add it to before? We added to the input, I think, right? So input, and then whatever the condition is that we had decided. You guys remember, like, Telnet, exactly. And then finally, dash J, and what would go here? Yep, perfect. All right, very good. So log. Does this make sense? All right, so play with that. So I leave that to you. But yeah, that should be something fun that you can do. All right, so the next rule that we want to look at is, let's see. So let's go back. What machine are we in? We are in 15. This is where we added the rule, so we want to clear it out. So we already saw that we had the file in the log, or we had the entry in the log. Now we want to go ahead and take a look. So I'm going to do sudo IPTables dash L. Right, these are all the lists. That's too much information. So let's do dash L input. Okay. And there, yeah, that's the rule log. There it is. So let's just do. There we go. It's input. All right, so it's rule 1. I knew that. But... All right, we're going to delete it from there. So delete. Let's just do sudo 1. We're going to do sudo IPTables -d input 1. We don't want these to interfere. All right, so that should be deleted now. Print it. There's nothing there. Okay, so we are full set. All right, so I'm going to go back to the, well, I can stay here. So if config, we didn't really add any rules in 4. All right, so what's the next question? The next question will be, so we've done the log telnet. Block a DDoS. Okay, so let's take a look at that one. Yeah. So next question, block a DDoS attack on the router from the inside network. Important for this rule, disconnect your device from the school's network or your workplace or wherever. Okay. So running the attack. So how do we, first of all, we need to run an attack. So I'm not going to hit enter here. I'm just going to give you the attack command. You guys already know this, obviously, because you did the lab this semester, but I'm just going to use netwalks, which was the successful. I'm not going to put the sudo in front of it, so it just doesn't run. But remember, you should put sudo. So netwalks. I've accidentally run this DDoS too many times over the years, and I always get an email the next morning. So, and Professor Jack, I don't want that. All right, so -I, and then you would target some machine on a specific port. So it's going to be 192. Let's say I'm just, oh yeah, I know the IPs, right? So I'm on 15 now. So now I'm targeting 10.0 to 4, let's say. Okay. And the attack is 76. And then the port number is going to be 22. So we're going to be targeting port 22, right? And -S. And that should do like a good denial of service attack, okay, on your machine. So we're targeting this time around, I'm targeting 4 actually. So I need to remember that. All right, so then since I'm targeting 4, remember this is gonna show half open connections on your VM, so the VM may not slow down necessarily, but you should see those. And here the hit count will be actually pretty crucial. Okay, but I'll be looking for that. You need to show on your screenshot pretty much the hit count. Okay, so remember to look at the hit count. Oh, sorry, to look at the, so let's assume you did the attack. So that was the command. Now on the other machine, we're going to go now to 4. So let's switch over to 4. Okay, so everyone should be seeing 10.024, there's the IP. All right, so on this one then, you will want to run, if you remember the netstat command, -NA pipe rep TCP, right? And that should show, currently there's no attack obviously, but you should see a lot of half open connections, which will say something like SYN received. That was just from the lab. Okay, so show evidence of that in your attack. Now you need to make a rule and look at the hit count. Okay, so that will be basically now this question, exam type question. Where do we put in this rule? Where does it make sense to put this rule? Which chain, I mean? Yes. Yes. Perfect input chain, right? So that's really it. I mean, these are the things that, or you'll lose points if you don't do that right on the exam. So just kind of pay special attention to that. All right. So now, I'm going to look at the input chain. I want to look at it. So I have a command here. I'm just going to change this one. I'm going to add the V because the V count, the hit count is important here. And this is going to be input. So sudo IPTables. And we're going to take a look at it. And we can see the packet count, nothing there. So now the question is, how do you run this rule? So the rule that you can try for, I'm just going to give you the rule that you can use for a denial of service attack. But you still need to run this scenario and show evidence that it worked, okay? So it's going to be sudo IPTables -I, and then input, as we said, this is the attack machine, input -P, what protocol is this? TCP, right? We're targeting port 22, -- destination port 22. And then now here is where you kind of limit the amount of packets that you can get. So you're going to say something like -M limit -- and then now you specify limit, and the value will be 20 per minute. Okay, and then also -- limit -burst, and that will be, you can set it to 100. You can play with these numbers, so I encourage you to change the numbers, increase it to large numbers, put it at smaller numbers, and see the behavior of this to see when the hit count goes up. But that should do it. And then actually this is what is not what is dropped, but in fact what is accepted. Okay, as far as the traffic. So anything else that does not meet these conditions will be dropped. Yeah, will be dropped. Does this make sense? Yeah. But play with the numbers, okay? And that rule should be good. So although I'm not going to run the attack, the rule should work. Yeah, so it took it. And now if we do the line numbers, it's there. And so your goal then is obviously to test this out, but it should work. Okay, and that is basically, then after that, you would obviously run the DDoS attack, let it run for a little while, and just show the hit count. Okay, and so basically that should be it. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the rule just so that I don't have any problems. sudo IPTables -d input rule 1. Okay, so that should be gone. And now it is clear. Any questions on the DDoS attack? All right, great. So that, that's one rule. The next question, I believe, is the MAC address one, right? You had a MAC address one? Okay, so the next question says, drop traffic by MAC address for a PC in the internal network. So first of all, we want to take a look at the MAC address. So I'm going to put clear here. Okay, so what are some suggestions for getting the MAC address? I have config, right? I have config. Okay, and the interface is this one, right? So here's the MAC address. No, that's the. Where is that word Ethernet? Oh, yeah, this one. I see. Okay, great. Couldn't see it. Thank you. Which one? Hmm. Mm-hmm. So for this one, it should be the 08, correct? All right, so I'm just going to write that down. So the MAC seems to be 08 colon 00 colon 27 colon 1D colon 5A colon 31. Right, so we've got a MAC address there. Right, so now what do we want to do? We want to try out ping here. So we are in 4. So I'm going to ping now 15. I'm going to do ping 10.0.2.15. So I can ping it, I can reach it. Okay. So we want to somehow block, right, based on MAC address. So that's our goal. All right, so I pinged 15 from 4, but the MAC address that I have is for 4, correct? The MAC address that I have is for 4. Yeah. So where do we put the rule? Okay, so we go to the other machine, 15. I have config. Hey, this is 15. It's got a different MAC address. Now, question is, so the connection is coming from 4 to 15. This is 15. So input chain. All right, good. So then we're going to do sudo IPTables -I input chain. And now comes in the MAC address, basically. So I'm just going to do -m, lowercase, and MAC. And then we're going to say -- MAC source. And this is going to be now the MAC address in question. So 08:00:27:1D:5A, I think it was 5A:31, and then -J what? Drop, right? So we're going to drop. All right, so it took that rule. So now we're going to look at the input with line numbers. We're going to add the hit count, lowercase v. All right. So now we need to test this rule. So how do we do it? But from the other machine, right? So we have to go to the other machine. This one. And we're going to repeat the same process. We're going from 4 to 15, and it doesn't work. So that's a good sign, right? Let it go for a little while, then I'm going to stop it. Now I go to the original machine, this one, and now I'm going to check the hit count again, and it's up to 8. So that's a good sign. All right, good. And that should do it, actually. So by pinging, we demonstrated that the ping fails via the MAC address. All right, so now let's go ahead and delete this rule. It's just rule 1. And there's nothing there now. So this is, if I go to the other machine and I try to ping it again, this time it does. That's it. That completes the exercise of blocking by MAC address. What's the next rule? Subnet, right? So we're gonna, okay, so that one, think about this one. So we're gonna test this one on ping. What subnet do we want to block? What subnet do you guys want to block? You know any? Do we know the net mask? Let's start with the network that we have, right? 10.0.2.15. So let's take a look. Let's think about it. Let's think it through. I'm going to be clear here. IF-config, right? So we got the net mask there. The network, so it's the net mask is 255, 255, 255, 0. So the network ID is 10.0.20. Right, so now, same thing from here. We are in 4 and we're going to 15. So I'm going to ping 10.0.2.15 and I can reach it, right? Now I'm going to go to 15 and add a rule, but this time it's not going to be by MAC address, it's going to be by sub. Yeah, right? That's what I was thinking. Yeah, so, all All right, so we just ping from here. You guys can try it with other things too, like, try other scenarios. So this one, I'm going to 15, so this should be 15. Yeah, all right, so I'm in 15. So then the pings are coming from 4. So again, what chain should we use? Yes. Input, right? All right, so we're going to do input. So it's going to be sudo IPTables -VL input. Okay, there's nothing there. So now we're going to add the subnet related rule. So that should be sudo, and we were able to ping before, IPTables -I input -S. And this, this is for the subnet net now. So we specify here the network ID and the net mask, basically. So it should be n/220/255/255.0 -J drop. That should work, I think. All right, it took it. So now let's take a look at input. There it is. So now we need to go, the hit count here should go up. We need to go to the other machine here. Clear. I have config. Right. And now I'm gonna clear. And I'm going to ping 10.0.2.15. And it doesn't work. That's good. So it doesn't work. So now we need to go to the original, to the target. 4, the hit count should have gone up. Yeah, and it went up. All right, so that means the rule worked for that subnet and for multiple kinds of things. Does this make sense, guys? No questions? All right, no questions in cyberspace. All right, so let's go ahead then, and now we can delete it, clear it out. And I think it's sudo IPTables -input should be 1. Okay. There's nothing there. Perfect. All right, so that's rule number 8. Now, if we go, it's been removed. So if we go to the other machine, things should now work again. And there we go. All right. Any questions? So that's all the rules except one, right? One is missing from all of this. Which one? Port forwarding? All right, so you guys did port forwarding? So I'll just go through the scenario for this one. I'll leave it to you guys to solve. But I'll provide some. I have a, so let me stop here. So it's going to use the nice solution I have from last year. So there's port forwarding. So I'm going to share the screen here. All right, so you should all be seeing the Word document. So port forwarding from B, you're gonna access an SSH service on A. All right, so you need this. So this would be the virtual machine settings. This is VMware, I believe. So you'll just have to adapt it a little bit to VirtualBox. Okay, so first of all, you have two machines, A and B. So the setup for machine for one machine, and that's the machine that's being set up as a router. There's also a video of this, by the way, that I have on the course website. So you can take a look at that video also. But basically, this is the machine that acts as a router. So it needs to have two network interfaces, as you see here. So the first network interface is just going to be set in custom setting as host only. Do you guys see that? And that's going to represent one side of the network, right? So one side is going to be host only, and the other one is going to be like VMnet something, right? 17 or something like that. So that way, that will allow the machine to be a router, basically. Okay, and then you have two networks on it. So you mark this as host only, right? Then the next interface, the adapter 2, you do custom and just, let's see. So this is VMnet host only. 17, adapter 2. Just 2, right? So adapter 2, it's a different one, right? So this is VMnet 1 host only. This is VMnet 17 host only. Okay. Then the other machine, you're just going to link it to one of these, right? So that it's connected basically to that machine. So in this case, this is PC. This would be PC, the router machine, and then this would be the machine that's on one side, PC1. So this one only needs to have one network interface, and you just connect it host only to VMnet 1. Right? Remember, this is 17. This is 1. Okay, so that's, you do that. Then on PC2, the one on the other end of the router, a little bit bigger. That one is also only needs to have one interface, but it's connected host only to VMnet 17. Okay, so both sides of the router are host only. One is VMnet 1, one is 17, and then both machines on both ends so that they can talk to each other. Okay. All right, then after that, that's the machine acting as a router. So you can do an if config. You should see two interfaces, two networks. So 192.168.37 and 192.168.125. And then these are the IP addresses of PC1 and PC2. Just make sure they are on the same network. Then you're going to try something like pinging from one PC to the other through the router, and that won't work immediately. You just need to add a rule, basically. Okay, so you will need to add a rule when you try this. So making configurations so that the VMs can talk to each other. Okay, so it should be adding this rule, sudo. So if you look over here, sudo IP route add 192.168.125 via and the interface. Right, so this is going to be specific to your setup, but it's basically a routing rule between the two interfaces. Okay. And so you see that there in yellow. And also this parameter actually echo 1 to this phi to this IP forward file. Okay, so you would also need to do that. And now, once you've done those two commands, you can ping, and the ping should be successful. Right? So you should get, the output such as that. And that basically is the steps to making one VM into the router between two machines. Okay, after that, obviously they can ping. So now the question is, how do you do the port forwarding? And that just means creating rules that allow port forwarding from PC2 to PC1. So here you can see, you can add a rule such as sudo IPTables I forward, and basically based on your setup, so you can craft it specifically. But here's one of the commands. And then the other command is the pre-routing rule that we had talked about. So sudo IPTables pre-routing NAT, you have to specify the interface, you have to specify the listening port and the destination and service, which is also what we had talked about. So these are the two rules that you have to have in question, basically. So it's actually should be these two rules, actually, right? Because one is the forward accept, and then the other one is the pre-routing. You guys see that? So as I said, these are the two rules that we had talked about. And then once this is set up, you should be able to, you can see them here, you should be able to do port forwarding. All right, then after that, you're going to test the scenario, of course, by SSHing. So, through the router, and that should redirect you to the computer on the other side of the network itself. So you can see the command SSH, the IP number, and the port number, so 4000 basically. So that's on one side, and when you hit that port number, thanks to the pre-routing, which was here somewhere, right? So the pre-routing, here. If you look, it's waiting on 4000, and it's just going to redirect to port 22 on that specific IP address. Right, so that's the pre-routing. So remember, the pre-routing just does the mapping, but you still need to have a forward rule to allow you through. Right, and that should be it. That should be the entire scenario. This is the diagram, PC1, PC2, and this is the computer. This is the host, and that should be with this, you should be able to solve that problem. Also, there should be a video. So if we go to the course website, here, there should be a video, set up a VM as a router. So if you're looking at this, should be able to see set up VM as router. All right, and that's kind of the same sequence of slides that I just showed you in the previous document. So we go back to the document. Yeah, and that should complete all the steps that you need for the last problem, which is port forward. Any questions? Did you guys get the commands? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, and this is recording, so you can just look at the video basically. So I think those are all the problems for IPTables. Are there any questions on any of the problems? You should be able to do the assignment, correct? So you have everything. Yeah. So that's all I have. That's basically today's the last lecture actually, and this was the very last topic to conclude everything that we've been discussing this semester. All that remains, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.